What if it rained food? What if Earth was a cube? What if we had 9 lives? What if bits could fly? It's absurd. If money grew on trees, if we didn't have knees, if we walked through life slightly magnetical, it's absurd. Absurd Hypotheticals.
Hello everybody and welcome to Absurd Hypotheticals, the show where we overthink dumb questions so you don't have to. I'm your host Marcus Lehner, and I'm joined here today by Chris Yee and Ben Storms. Say hi, guys.
Hey, I'm Chris.
Hey, I'm Ben.
So I had a fun weekend this weekend. My girlfriend Sarah's folks works at a company that was doing an event at Canopy Lake Park.
Ooh,
so we got free admission into that water park / amusement park.
I haven't been there in a long time.
I don't think I've ever actually been there.
This was my first time going, and I was pleasantly surprised this place wasn't super duper huge, because I am not, as you may call it, a roller coaster aficionado or someone who just enjoys roller coasters at all. That said, Sarah was super into roller coasters. She's like, oh yeah, I want to go on all of them, and you're going to come on with me. And I'm like, I already feel the social pressure and anxiety I got when I was like 12. I'm now 12 again, and now we are here.
Well, you seem like the kind of person that would like roller coasters.
You know, maybe, but I can tell you that I am not one.
You learned that this weekend? That you haven't become one?
No, I've always been a scaredy cat on the roller coasters. I just never particularly enjoy, like, we talked about it, and we both, the key moment is that, like, your stomach dropping out and that rush you get.
See, I used to not like that, and then I don't know what it was. It's just switched one day, and I liked it. See,
I continue to not like that rush. And so, also, this is just good knowledge for everybody. If you know somebody who doesn't like roller coasters, it's because they don't enjoy that fun feeling that you get. They get the same feeling, except they don't like it.
This is true.
Right.
I love it personally.
So not my thing. But it brought back kind of like the one thing I did forget about amusement parks that especially applies to me who doesn't like going on all these scary roller coasters, and is that regardless of how crazy big a park you go to and how ridiculous the rides you go on or what you choose to do, on either side of you, no matter what, while you're waiting in line, there will be like 3 to 4 12-year-olds on either side of you that are just like super hyped to go on this ride for the 8th time. And you're like, I'm like psyching myself up to go on these rides. And then there's like, oh, this one's slow. This one's boring. This one's like, I've been on this 3 times already. And I'm just sitting there like, you kids are insane. You need to learn. You need to learn what emotions are and how to feel them.
I mean, there are probably equally amount of kids that like cry in the middle of the line. They have to like go back.
Yeah, we actually had Sarah's niece, who was like 1.5, was over in the kids area. So there was plenty of kids that were on this tiniest, slowest rides and just losing their absolute mind and unhappiness.
Have you ever done that? Have you ever been in line and then like you're with your dad or something and he's like, no, it'll be fun. Then you get to like the very front of the line and you ditch it?
Nah, once I'm online, the social pressure to leave that line is so much higher than the one to avoid the line in the first place. So I've never ditched at the front. Like once I've gotten on the line, I've never ditched from that point forward. So I've been on theirs, and I will say, Canopy Lake Park thankfully did not have any giant rides.
Yeah, they have more like wooden roller coasters, right? Not
I
steel.
do like wooden roller coasters. Those are fine.
It's funny. I used to like wooden roller coasters. I don't like them anymore.
Yeah, they're mostly just like shaky. They don't go
they're
as
very
fast.
shaky.
Yeah, you don't get as much of the droppy feeling from them.
Yeah, just more of a shaky feeling.
I like that part about it. And I kind of like the shaky. I like that visceral, just like roar of the wooden roller coaster. But I just wanted to relate how bad the 12-year-olds made me feel at the theme park about my bravery. I do not feel like a knight in shining armor when I'm at the amusement park.
What about water parks? Do you like water parks?
I weirdly like water rides better than regular rides. I don't know why. Like, put me on a log flume, no problem. But like, it's steel roller coasters, especially ones that go upside down or spinny, I don't like.
The water flume, you still get the droppy feeling though. It's only one drop.
But it's one drop. It's very clear where it is, and it is slower. Like, it's less of a droppy feeling.
I feel like there's more of a build up though.
And you get a big splash, and the big splash makes it all worth it.
It's more refreshing.
Although I will say we were there, and it was not particularly warm that day, and we still went on the water ride, so we were a bit chilly. But really, we have this podcast that we have to do, and I'm going to continue it. And our question for the day is, what if you had octopus arms? So we debated back and forth a little bit, and we decided you get 2 octopus arms. You get 2 tentacles, not 8, not 6 plus like legs. Not 4 octo arms plus 4 octo legs. 2.
You have 2 arms right now, so they replace with 2 arms.
We did have lots of options though. There was some deliberation.
Yeah, so 2 octopus arms. That's what you got. What do you do with them? I'll start us off because I think I'm going to use Ben's line and say I nerded out a bit on this one because I decided I was going to spend all my time finding out if you could actually do rock climbing with octopus suckers on your arms. So strap in, there's a bit of math here. I did go pretty deep on whether this would actually work. So I'm going to start off with what I learned from The Structure and Adhesive Mechanism of Octopus Suckers by William M. Keir and Andrew M. Smith about how an octopus suction actually works in the first place. So an octopus sucker is made up of basically a bunch of muscles. There's one circular muscle that makes up like the ring. There is like in the wall of the sucker, there's ones that can expand or contract the wall. And then over the whole cup is like a set of muscles perpendicular that kind of like lines of longitude on a globe. And they kind of like arch downwards and kind of keep it all together. So the way the suction works is, so the first thing is that the bottom ring muscles will connect to whatever surface it's on and form a seal. And to help with that, the skin will actually exude mucus to make it a bit slimy, which helps making that like watertight seal. And then the muscles in the wall actually contract and get smaller. And because the walls now are getting smaller and thinner, it increases the volume inside the cup because now there's not some fat wall in the way. Now it's empty space. And that increased volume creates a negative pressure that the water inside the suction cup is going to resist. And that resistance is actually what generates the suction. And now because there's a pressure differential between the inside the suction cup and outside the suction cup, you get sticking power. It goes, and then that's what you get.
Thank you for that. That was wonderful.
I can use that Foley for
everything. Any sound you ever need can just be that now.
Mom, I'm busy.
Oh no.
And now I ruined it for everybody. Great. So that's how the kind of the muscles work. So they are actually actively creating pressure with their suction cups, which is good because the holding force is like I said, is the pressure differential. So you could increase the pressure and suction force by going deeper in the water, but since we technically live out of the water, we only have 1 atmosphere to work with. So we want to be able to generate more pressure with our suction cup than just making like a vacuum. So octopuses have been shown also, I'm gonna make a point, it's octopuses. I looked it up. It's not octopi.
Yeah, it's counterintuitive.
And I thought it was octopi for the longest time.
I did too, and I looked it up for this question, just like you.
Yep, same.
It is octopuses, everybody. Everyone, I think it was octopi for a minute, and then they switched it back to octopuses. But it's octopuses is the official way you say it. Don't tweet at me. Actually, you can't tweet at me. Ben runs the Twitter.
Don't at me, bro.
Don't at me.
Actually, please, anyone at me.
Yeah, we want followers.
Someone.
Well, maybe if you ever post in the Twitter, Ben, then we would have some ats.
It's gonna be great when I make my same I think I forgot to do something joke in like 3 months, like I did when we started the podcast.
Anyhow, how strong? Now we're getting to some of the math. So how strong is the octopus suction cup? So luckily, this is one of the few questions where I didn't have to do much scaling up and down because the giant Pacific octopus is kind of on the same scale of size that we are. So I kind of just use their numbers for how strong their tentacles are because they're about the same size. So the suction cups are able to generate negative 65 kilopascals in pressure. And the atmospheric pressure is 100 kilopascals. So you get 165 kilopascals of pressure differential. And that's your holding force. So basically that's 23.9 pounds per square inch. So if you have a 1 square inch of tentacle suction, you can hold up like a bowling ball and a half, which is pretty good. So I'm already kind of feeling optimistic about how this rock climbing endeavor is going to go. But unfortunately, while the whole tentacle is covered in suckers, not the whole area of the tentacle isn't going to be creating that suction because only the little bit in the middle where the hole actually is going to be what's creating a suction area. So there wasn't exactly research on this, so I kind of just looked at a bunch of photos of octopus tentacles and kind of guesstimated how much of the area was like the suction cup and how much of it was not the suction cup.
You went counting suction cups?
Well, it's like counting them and then their size and then how the circular size relates to the thickness of the ring around it, because that doesn't count either, and the space in between them. And I decided to be a little conservative. I ended up at 10% of the area of the tentacle is, I'm going to call it suction space.
10% of like the area all around the tentacle, or the
No,
arm?
no, of like the side with the suction cups on it. So if you imagine it flat and there's the 2 rows of suction cups on it, 10% of that is what I'm counting as the part that's going to be under pressure. And this counts if it's like pulling up a bit and like contracting.
Right.
So 10%. So now you've got 2 arms, but you're going to need one of them to move. So I'm only counting one arm at a time. And realistically, probably only half that arm is going to be like actually on the wall. So we get 5% of one tentacle's area to work with. So if we say our tentacle is about 3 feet long, like the length of our arms, I said it was 4 inches wide, gives us an area of 144 square inches, and 5% of that is 7.2 square inches of suction space.
That's still a decent amount if 1 square inch holds up a bowling ball.
Exactly. So all this together is actually enough to lift 172 pounds.
Perfect.
Which is basically exactly enough to lift my scrawny little human body up the cliff. So great, we can rock climb. Except there's one small issue. This only works if there's water. So a big part of the suction force is that it relies on the suction cup being filled with water. So if you go on a dry cliff face, you have like the mucus to create the membrane. But it only does so much, and I imagine you might, I don't know if octopus get dry tentacle lips, but that might be a thing. So I'm gonna say you need water, but I haven't given up. So I'm gonna say we have created an apparatus that lets us bring water and will help us spray water both onto the cliff face to make it wet, and we can use it to like kind of refill our suction cup holes.
You just have a sprinkler on your head.
Right. But like a slightly more precise sprinkler, because I'm really trying to use as little water as possible.
I'm seeing the backpack from Super Mario Sunshine in my mind.
Mario Sunshine.
Pretty much just that.
It is now exactly that. That is exactly what you're
Perfect.
facing. It's got a little like device in it that aims the nozzle at either your tentacles or the wall, however you need it.
Mm-hmm.
So our half a tentacle is enough to lift 172 pounds, and since I'm using myself as an example, I weigh 160 pounds, so I really don't have much room for water. So I'm not exactly sure what this looks like in practice, but I assumed we can get the equivalent of one full arm at the cliff at any time, either half and half, or like one full arm and then the other one like reaching higher. So I would have to do more thinking to see what this actually looks like. If anyone wants to draw me a picture, that would be awesome.
Tweet at us.
Tweet us a picture of how you think the best octopus climbing technique is. But assuming we can get a full arm's worth, I can just straight up double our carrying capacity. So we get an additional 172 pounds to work with. This is going to be 2.75 cubic feet of water that we can carry, which admittedly doesn't sound like a lot, but it's more than it sounds like. So the question is, how much will we need? So first off, I did the amount of water that we need to fill our suction cups. So if we have our 7.2 inches of suction space, say that it's about an inch deep of an area that we need to fill, that gives us 7.2 cubic inches of water that we need to fill our suction cups. I'm going to be making a lot of assumptions from this point forward about how this would work. So if any of them sound absolutely ridiculous, feel free to stop me. I'd say we'd probably lose at least half of that water whenever we disconnect and reapply. So like half it stays in, half it falls out. So we're going to need about 3.6 cubic inches of water every time we move an arm. And I said let's be generous and say we get about 1 foot of upwards progress per arm movement. So basically our water consumption for tentacles per foot upwards is 3.6 cubic inches. But also the wall can't be dry either, so we have to wet the wall. So I said an 1/8 inch of water over an area in front of us is sufficient to achieve, I don't know, wet? And if we spray roughly a 1 foot wide area that we connect to, assuming our spray nozzle isn't ridiculously accurate, we're going to use up about 18 cubic inches per vertical foot of rock face that we climb for the rock wetting. So putting that 18 plus our 3.6 gives us a total water consumption of 21.6 cubic inches per foot of upwards progress. So our 2.75 cubic foot water capacity is the equivalent of 4,752 cubic inches, which means we can climb a total of 220 feet.
That's not that high.
That's pretty good.
I mean, it's not bad, but that's not like...
It's pretty good. That's not that high.
It's not that high.
All right. El Capitan is out of reach. But I'd be pretty happy with myself if I climbed a 220-foot rock face.
To be fair, your tentacles don't have to carry your whole weight. You're still using your legs.
Yes and no. Because I imagine oftentimes in rock climbing, you have to put all of your weight on one point. You can't always have, 3 points of contact like you're climbing a ladder.
Yeah, sometimes you will.
Well, in rock climbing, if it's sometimes, it has to be, you have to count for it all the time.
I mean, it depends on what you're climbing.
Well, we're not pussyfooting around, Chris. This is like sheer vertical rock face climbing, because that's what you want to do with your octopus tentacles.
Like, what percentage of rock climbers encounter that situation where they only have to use their arms?
All of them?
I don't think that's true.
Pretty sure it's like all of them.
I don't think so.
This is incredible. This is riveting.
I don't know anything about rock climbing. You don't know anything about rock climbing.
I mean, I've been rock climbing.
Shit.
Well, yeah, but you've done like pussy-ass rock climbing.
Yeah, that hasn't... Yeah. But a percentage of the people will have done that.
Uh-oh.
But I'm talking good rock climbing. I'm talking like the toppity, like no footholds going up a cliff. How about that? That's what the rock climbing we're trying to do.
Did you just say toppity?
The toppity of the rock climbing omni.
Okay. I'll let you have it.
That was a thrilling tennis match right there.
We're trying to be cool. We're not trying to be the bottom 80% of rock climbers.
We're already cool. We have octopus arms.
Does that make you cool?
Yeah,
yes.
it does.
It does. Never mind. Why I even ask the question?
Also, there's going to be like a subsection of, well, ladies and men that are going to be very into your tentacle arms.
Insert your Foley here.
Please don't say insert right now.
So actually, but here's the thing. Now, you're limited to this 220 feet because you have to wet everything. But if it's raining,
Perfect.
Sky's the limit, guys. Sky's the goddamn limit. You can just keep going.
You can't climb into the sky. There's no rock in the sky.
I see. This is the type of podcast we're having today, huh?
It is.
This is the type of podcast that I've signed up for.
Welcome to Combative Hypotheticals.
Where we specialize in pedantics, apparently.
Yep.
And, what's the other word that means pedantics that starts with an S?
Semantics?
Semantics. Pedantics and semantics.
I was thinking of semantics, and I was like, they rhyme. That can't be right.
Anyhow, main conclusion, rock climbing super works when it rains, is limited by your water pack when it's dry outside. Also, I was very worried that this was going to turn into one of those problems where you have, like, how high spaceships are limited by because, like, how much fuel they can carry versus how much fuel it needs to carry that extra weight of the fuel.
Yeah, it's heavier.
And that's a whole lot of math, and I didn't have to do all that math because it's just kind of like, you can lift X amount and it's just a straight, it never changes. It's perfect. It's perfect for what I'm doing. There are a couple other small issues I looked at. So, fun fact about octopuses. They have 8 tentacles. Now you know. But if you ever tried, like, drumming or sports or just not being, like, a clumsy oaf, you know how hard it can be to coordinate, like, even 2 of these things that we call limbs. So how do octopuses do 8? And the main answer is that they actually offload a lot of the hard thinking of having to coordinate all these tentacles to the tentacles themselves. And basically what I'm saying is 2/3 of octopus neurons are in the tentacles. So neurons, the thing that make your brain work, most of it is in the arms instead of the octopus brain, which is cool because it means that the arms can do a lot of stuff without using the brain at all. Now, it's good. I think it's cool for octopuses. I don't think it's great for rock climbing because really you want to be in control of your arms at all times. And the thing is, these octopus tentacles are going to react to outside stimuli without it ever actually making it to your brain at all. So, for example, if they've done some studies, very, very depressing studies actually, where I'm going to say it was a very old octopus who was surrounded by friends and family, dies. Then they cut off all its legs, and then they put the legs in salt water, and then they wait a bit, and then they experiment with the legs. But basically, these severed octopus tentacles were actually able to react instantly to outside stimuli. Like, if you pinched it, it would, like, curl up. If you put it, like, to things it doesn't like something that's slightly acidic, or, like, non-salt water, like fresh water, it doesn't like either, it'll actually move away from that source, like, by itself.
I think I read too that, like, if it touches food, then it'll move the food towards where the octopus would be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'll like move the the food to like a phantom octopus mouth, which is makes
That's
it like
weird.
10 times more depressing in my mind.
Right.
So that's not great for rock climbing, because if you like accidentally put your, hand on like a sharp rock or something, we have like a pain reflex, but it kind of does go to the brain, and we can kind of like help control that a little bit.
You can ignore it.
Like if you go on something sharp, you won't even know that your arm is doing what it's doing. It'll just be on its own doing its own thing, which could be potentially not good for you.
Right.
And then one other small thing on there that could also be complicated is, I don't know if this would apply to you, because this might be a brain thing as opposed to a tentacle thing, but octopuses lack what they call proprioception, which is the sense that tells you where your arms are when you close your eyes. Which I'm just like thinking, I'm closing my eyes right now, and I'm like, I do know where my arms are.
They do not disappear.
And like even when even more than closing your eyes, is when you're just not looking at your arms, knowing where they are. I don't know how much that would really impact your rock climbing, but I feel like it would. I feel like you might need that to
Yeah,
rock
I mean,
climb
you
effectively.
can't be looking at both or you can't always be looking at both your arms at the same time.
Right.
Do you think your octopus arms could get distracted and you're like halfway up the cliff, and then just like, I don't know, a particularly like attractive section of rock for tentacles goes like off to the left, and suddenly you just start climbing sideways. You're like, no, please, upwards.
I thought you were going to say, like, an attractive lady walks by.
I like that you could definitely hear the gears going in his head. It was like, what makes sense here?
I couldn't think of anything that makes sense, so maybe this wouldn't apply. It's just like a big old
I
rock
think
thing
you're
going
okay.
up.
It's rocks.
Attractive
Some really
piece
nice
of rock.
some really nice soft moss that's like very pleasing.
Someone
I don't know.
stapled a pillow to the wall, and
There's this line of pillows going off towards the east, and now you're just helplessly following it.
it's a trap for people with octopus arms.
God, they got me. All right. So yeah, I don't think any of those are deal breakers. So if you were curious, if you had arms that were octopus tentacles, you could rock climb, and kind of like in the order of magnitude that like probably a regular person could rock climb. Like you could do it, but you couldn't do it like extremely, but you could get it done. Ben, what did you do?
So this is one of those answers where I found a fact and just had to make something fit that fact because it was too cool of a fact to not use, which is an answer type that we are all familiar with at this point. Basically, I learned that octopuses can actually smell and taste through their tentacles, which this is a useful thing for them because there's a couple ways they really use it. One, when they're like looking for food, if they're like floating, they'll kind of just spread their tentacles all out so they have like an array almost of sensing around them where they're like smelling and tasting for food around them.
It's like one giant nose/tongue.
Yeah, it's actually like a really terrifying like mental image if you think of it in that context.
I'm just imagining like every third sucker is just, instead of a sucker, it's just a nose.
Tongue.
Oh, I was seeing a tiny little tongue. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's worse.
Yeah,
Hundreds
I
of
guess
little
that's
tongues.
So it's like they go in sequence of 3. So it's like tentacle, nose, tongue, tentacle, nose, tongue.
But the other thing they use them for is like, when they're, if they see like a snail shell, they can grab it and it can smell immediately if there's actually a snail inside or not. It doesn't have to like bring it back and like, look at it or anything. So that's a very useful, evolutionary thing that helps them with hunting and stuff. And I was trying to figure out how, if I had octopus arms, I could use this for fucking anything. Because the problem, so clearly if it involves like tasting or smelling, it has to be food related. Because otherwise, that's not helpful. Like,
Yeah,
if
it'd
anything,
just be like really annoying. Like you've
Right,
been
it's
tasting everything you touch.
it's a downside. That's a bad thing most of the time.
Yeah.
So it has to be food related. But like being like a food critic, you're not tasting better. You're just tasting with your hands. You don't have to do that. You just taste with your mouth. Just like it saves you like a couple of seconds, I guess, but that's it. So that's kind of off. And like just regular cooking, it doesn't actually do all that much because like if you're cooking, soup, you're using a spoon and you don't want to like dip your hand in the soup to taste it. That's not productive.
Especially with all that mucus.
Speak for yourself. I'll dip my hand in any soup.
I'm not inviting you over when I have soup.
When do you even have soup, Ben?
I
Disinviting me before you even have a soup
I will
party?
have you know that there's an excellent Mexican soup I make in my Instant Pot. Anyway, that's not important right now. But I finally realized that there actually is a place where this tasting with your hands is actually useful, and that is in baking. Because if you are mixing dough is actually a very like complicated, like, you know, there's a lot of ingredients that go into it that you kind of need a right proportion of in order to get the right like flavor profile. And what's great is that if you can taste with your hands as you're mixing the dough, you can kind of be like adjusting, oh, I need some more salt, you know, mix, throw some salt in, mix, throw in, you know, whatever. If you're tasting the whole time, it's perfect. You're just going to, you know, learn.
Also, you'd avoid the thing in the Great British Baking Show where every season they pick one person who has to be the person who accidentally puts salt instead of sugar in their cake.
Yes, that will never, ever happen. Which is...
Do you think they just sign somebody up to do that? Like, do you think they just pick a guy and they're just like, hey, look, you're not winning this thing anyway, but we'll give you 10 grand to put salt in instead of sugar.
No,
on this
see,
next
they just switch the labels for one person and then edit and post so that you can't see it.
Oh, what dicks.
It's devious. So that's, you know, that's useful. But there's actually another, you know, going back to what Marcus brought up about the arm brains, there's actually another way that this is very helpful for baking. Yeah, baking, that was the right word. I thought I said breaking for a second. So let's talk about how smart octopuses are first. They're actually pretty smart for their size.
All right, good talk.
And we're done. No, so usually sort of the way we like, it's a bad system because it's not like directly like 1-to-1, but for a rough idea of how intelligent animals are, a lot of times we sort of just see how many neurons they have in their brain. So octopuses have about 500 million neurons in their brain. For comparison, a human has like 86 billion, so don't even go there. But like a cat is like 760 million. So cats are reasonably smart. Octopuses are close there, and they've done stuff. They've done things where they'll give octopuses like pill bottles, and they'll figure out how to open them, and they'll go through mazes and stuff like that. Like they can do the general animal intelligence test things. But then, as Marcus brought up, only a third of those neurons are actually in their central brain. The other 2/3 are in the arms. And what's really cool, because I don't think you mentioned this part, sort of the way that the octopus like does stuff with its arms is basically the central brain tells the arm where it's trying to go and how fast it should do it, and then the arm figures out the rest on its own, which is so cool.
Yeah, it's like delegating its tasks.
Right, like isn't that just like it's like go over there, but like sneaky, and it's like all right, and it like figures out like how to do that. But that's so you have sort of this, it's not, super intelligent, but this rudimentary intelligence in the arms. And I figured out...
That does make rock climbing pretty easy, huh?
It does, actually.
Up, please.
Up, exactly.
And then you just wait till your arms get you there.
I'm bored.
So I figured out then that, so we have this 500 million neurons number. A third are in the central brain, so that's about 166 million neurons. But then the rest of them are in those 8 arms, which is about 41 2/3 million neurons in each arm, which is about the same neurons as a shrew in the list of animals by number of neurons I found.
So your
Thank
arm
you, Wikipedia.
is as smart as a shrew.
The smoky shrew had 36 million neurons, and the short-tailed shrew had 52 million neurons, so somewhere between those two varieties of shrew, I guess.
Oh man, poor dumb shrews always getting looked down upon by the smart shrews.
It was actually really funny, like, the animals that had more neurons than shrews, because, I don't know. Maybe just because their name is...
I like how this is where you drew your line. You just have the shrew line, and any animal above this is smart, and any animal below this is dumb.
Like, legit reason, I think in my mind I always thought that shrews would be at least somewhat intelligent because I thought that there was some link between shrew and the word shrewd.
I was gonna make that point. I was just trying to find the right place to put it.
So there you go. They're not. They're dumb. They're as dumb as an octopus tentacle. But importantly, so that's about 8.3% of the neurons of the octopus. And we could just say that that's the number of neurons our tentacles would have. But we could also say they have the same proportion as we do. Sorry, our octopus tentacles would have the same proportion of neurons as an octopus's octopus tentacles, if that makes sense.
Oh, Jesus.
So if they had 8.3% of our neurons, that would be about 7.17 billion neurons per arm, which is a little under a billion more than a rhesus macaque, which is a relatively smart
Come
monkey.
on, man. Could you pick one? Pick a different one.
Nope. I'm sorry, man. All I know, the tufted capuchin is at like 3.6 billion, and that's not helpful. And then it skips right up to human after the macaque. So we're going to have to go with it. I'm sorry.
It's like, oh no, you got chocolate in my peanut butter. You got my peanut butter in your chocolate, and then you got macaque in all of it.
Would you prefer I just said a rhesus monkey? Would you be happier about this, Marcus?
Yeah, I would.
Okay, a rhesus monkey. Anyway, so I don't know if that's better or worse that you actually have this like reasonably intelligent arm now. That might actually be worse. It might be better to just have like...
It might like overtake you.
Right, yeah.
Overthrow you.
Yeah, so... I mean, it could be useful too, like, I guess, but I don't know.
What would your arms' wants and needs be?
Oh, that's a really good question. They can't really do anything aside from hold things. So I guess hold things.
They can hit things.
They can hit things. This is true.
But it wouldn't want to hit things because that hurts.
The problem is they don't actually have any ability to get stimulus aside from touch, taste, and smell. So they can't really hit things on their own.
So they'd want to taste and smell good things.
Yeah. They can't really hit things on their own because they don't know. I guess they could smell them and hit them. But that seems dubious at best.
So would your arms just always be looking for like the most comfortable places to be? Like would your hands always be in your pockets because your arms just like, no, I'm good in here. Thank you.
Well, unless you walk by like Bath and Body Works and they just like fling out like towards all the like, lotions and shit.
Oh, it would just be a lotion fiend.
Yeah. Lotions, candles. Candle stores, love candle stores.
Yankee Candle.
Big fan of candle stores. Yeah, Yankee Candle.
I hate the smell of Yankee Candle.
Really?
It's way too strong.
It is a lot. Have you ever, so this is a question, have you ever gone to Lush before? The like soap place? I've gone with Shanta before. So it's very much one of those, it's a place that you're taken with a significant other mostly. And the smell of that place is overwhelming. It's kind of absurd, actually.
Like gives you a headache.
Yeah, there's a lot there. I was kind of floored the first time we went there. It took a lot out of me.
You just walk in, your arms are flailing all over the place. And,
exactly, yeah.
Distress. And they're like, what's wrong with you? It's like, sorry, your place smells really bad.
My arms are uncomfortable, but also very, very attracted to it at the same time. Anyway, reason why having smart arms is good for baking. That's what I think I was trying to loop back around to at some point.
Oh yeah, baking.
Baking, that's what I was talking about. Man, it was really a stretch to make this all work, guys. I'm not going to lie. I got there, I think, eventually. So I've actually, brief segue away again. I've been watching this YouTube channel a lot called Italia Squisita, which is basically a YouTube channel of Italian chefs cooking stuff and like talking Italian. I watch it before I go to sleep sometimes because it's really soothing for some reason to hear people talking Italian. I don't know, man. Don't question these things.
Do you speak any Italian?
No, there's captions. There's captions, dude. Like,
read the subtitles.
What? No, yeah.
Oh, captions or subtitles?
Well, wait. I mean, subtitles are just captions in a different language.
Thing.
Yeah.
Oh. I don't know. When I imagine caption, I imagine like a box with like an icon in it. That's not what captions are, though.
That's not... Wait, what kind of icon?
A box with icons in it?
Shit, I don't know.
What?
Look, my brain had a problem. I'm busy controlling my arms,
right?
So it's very distracting.
Are Ben's arms smarter than you?
Are your arms smarter than a fourth grader?
Are your arms smarter than a fourth grader?
Anyway,
the newest hit show.
Anyway, I've been watching a lot of this YouTube channel, and I always watch. There's like multiple videos of people making pizza dough because that's just a thing that people want to know how to do reasonably. And the kneading the dough takes like 20 minutes. And it'd be awesome if you could just say like, hey, knead this dough, and then like think about other shit while your arms just take it away, So you can just do that. Like that's a thing.
If you're kneading dough for 20 minutes, are you unable to think about anything else, Ben? Have you tried this?
I mean,
he can only focus. He can only just stare at the dough. That's all he does.
He is one with it. Well, you have to be very careful because you don't want to fuck up your pizza dough.
I need concentration.
Yeah. What you don't know is that it's actually like 20 minutes of like tight wire kneading that if you fuck up even once, if you do the wrong pattern, if you twist it just a little bit too far, if you stretch that middle bit, you're done. Your pizza is ruined.
I appreciate neither of you reacting whatsoever to that terrible pun. I think that's for the best.
That's for
anyway.
the best.
Really, that's kind of honestly all I have. You could probably bake good. I don't know. I want to talk about arms that smelled things and smart arms.
And we did.
And this was the only way I could. I tried to find anything else. I was unsuccessful.
Also, I appreciate you not just being a chef because then I was going to yell at you a lot.
Yeah, that's true. No, it didn't make any sense. I thought about that one.
It doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah, it's a detriment if anything.
So to fill in the listeners why I would be mad. I'm actually in the midst of panically preparing for a board game convention in which I am showcasing an octopus cooking game.
And this is true.
And you chose not to do the chef.
And Ben, so when Ben put cooking on his one word of this episode, I was only a little mad.
Well, it's particularly good because when we first like brought up this question, I think Chris immediately asked if you were going to do chef sort of as a joke,
Yeah.
and we all laughed about it. And then I was like doing my one, I was like, hey guys, I'm actually going to do cooking. So that's kind of what I have. Anyway.
So Chris, what did you do? And don't you goddamn say cooking.
I did cooking and rock climbing.
God, every goddamn time.
I did rock cooking.
I'm ending the podcast.
So, actually, before I get into my answer, I wanted to make a distinction because we've been saying tentacle a lot. And technically, it's not a tentacle, it's an arm.
This
There
is
a
true.
distinction. And that came up in my research a bunch when I was researching. So I just want to make that distinction because someone is going to call us out on it.
It's pedantic. It's semantic. It's Chris. That's our new tagline.
Convenient that it rhymes. So yeah, I wanted to figure out like what kind of job would I be able to do. And obviously, Marcus was doing rock climbing, Ben was doing cooking. I considered both of those things before you claimed them, and then I decided not to do them because I felt like they weren't going to work.
And they were claimed.
Joke's on you.
And then they got claimed. And just like everything that I tried to think of with octopus arms, I was like, this, like nothing is good about octopus arms.
They're
There's
actually,
like nothing I can do.
yeah, they are weirdly unhelpful
Yeah.
for pretty much all tasks.
Obviously, you can't do a normal like desk job because you can't like type or anything,
Yeah.
especially with like them having their own brains.
Make words. Not those words, arms. Damn it.
So I wanted to like look at what the different pros actually were, so I could like hone in on what I wanted to do. Ben mentioned that the suckers can taste, not particularly useful unless you want to cook.
Mm-hmm.
They're great multitaskers, so that maybe could be useful. Their skin can change color, which we haven't touched upon yet, which might be useful. It's not really that useful because it's only our arms. It's not like
Right.
we can't camouflage our whole body. It's just our arms.
Look, that I can't see that man's like arms. I don't know how that's not gonna be helpful.
And then one thing that I came across that I did actually sort of like it is pretty useful is that they're really flexible because they don't have any bones in them and they're basically just made of soft tissue. They can like bend and stretch and fit into small places really easily. And an example of this is there's an octopus in New Zealand, in a New Zealand aquarium. His name was Inky, and he escaped the aquarium. So he was able to lift the lid of the enclosure that he was in, and then he squeezed through. It was like a really small opening that he squeezed through. He crawled across the floor, and then he escaped through a drain pipe that led to the ocean.
Damn, like actual full escape, not just like, oh, I ended up on the sidewalk and someone came and collected me.
Like they didn't know what happened, but they were able to follow his trail of mucus.
Actually,
yeah.
speaking of escaping octopuses, I don't know if you came across this or not, but I guess stop me if you did. So they've realized that octopuses can actually, not only can they recognize individual people, they're capable of telling when people are and aren't paying attention to them.
Oh, really?
So they realize that because it's a somewhat common problem that octopuses will try to escape because they are like aware they're in captivity, unlike a lot of like sea creatures, and they will like wait until people aren't like paying attention to them to try, like make their move.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
cool. I'm glad I brought it up then. Continue.
So yeah, those are some of the pros of the octopus arms, and I was thinking of like what to do with them, and I actually thought back to episode 16 of our podcast where we did the random animal body parts because I actually got octopus arms for that.
Huh.
If you don't remember, we had randomly assigned one body part to be replaced by an animal body part, and then we randomly assigned different tasks to people to see like how you'd be able to do that task. And the task that I got was to give someone a massage. And in that episode, I actually concluded that octopus arms enhance your ability to give a massage. It makes it better. So that was one option I could have gone with. I didn't want to do that because that's like the same thing. I want to do something different. So that was really the only legitimate thing. So I had to go not legitimate. We haven't done this on the show in a while, but I turned to crimes.
Oh.
Yeah. Octopus arm crimes.
Octo crimes. 8 times as bad.
I'm not Dr. Octopus. I don't know what I am. Dr. Octopus is way better. But
It's better than anything I can come up with. I give up, Dr. Octopus. You've hit the epitome of octopus pun names for villains.
So I can't really, like, with my octopus arms, I can't really do, like, major crimes. I can't break into a bank or anything. Octopuses are able to squeeze into small space and, like, break into places, but it's not my entire body. It's only my arms. Only my arms can make it into the bank. So I have to stick to petty crimes, and one of the things that I can rob are claw machines.
Oh!
Yeah, claw machines, because they have the thing that you can just, like... Everyone's tried it. They've tried to stick their arm into it, and they can't get all the way because they have bones. Damn bones.
you, bones!
But we don't have bones in our arms anymore. We can do it. And they actually have, like, some decent things in those claw machines. They have, like... Some of them have, like, electronics and, like, game consoles and phones and stuff like that. And then in the vein of claw machines, there are also vending machines. And another callback, you may have remembered from episode 7, where we did What If You Were 6 Inches Tall. I said that I was going to rob vending machines. And I looked at a whole range of different vending machines and, like, what you could get from them. And you could obviously get, like, all the snack stuff, like chips and gum and all that stuff. But then there are also, like, high-end vending machines. So I think there's one in, like, New York, and you could get a 2-night stay at a penthouse, and you could get a Ferrari rental, stuff like that. You could get, like, gold handcuffs. So you could get that, and very, very valuable stuff. So that's a pretty good start for our crime career.
You're a little conspicuous, robbing a vending machine with a tentacle arm.
That's what I was thinking. I don't think it's the best thing to rob these vending machines, like, in plain sight when everyone's around. It's going to be pretty obvious. And, like, at night, I feel like some of, at least the more valuable vending machines, are going to be locked up at night. They're not just going to leave them out in the open. So it'll be, like, inside and there'll be a lock. So I want to see, will we be able to pick a lock with an octopus arm?
Okay.
Which might not be your first thought when you think of octopus arm.
No.
It's the one I'm thinking now, though.
It is.
So the first step to picking a lock is we need to get our arm in there. So can our arm actually fit in the keyhole? And I looked up keyhole dimensions from a lock wiki. Apparently there's a lock wiki. And it varies, like the size of the keyhole varies, but it's around 0.1 to 0.2 inches wide, which is very, very, very small, obviously. But according to National Geographic, a 600-pound octopus can fit through a quarter-sized hole. So that's just gives you an idea of how much they can squeeze into a small space. And we don't need to squeeze, like, entire octopus body into the lock. We only need the tip of our arm. So just based on that fact that a 600-pound octopus can fit through a quarter-sized hole, I feel like we would be able to fit our arm into a keyhole. I don't know if you disagree with me, but...
No, that seems fair.
I'm not sold just yet, but we're going to continue as if you can.
Yeah, so I'm making an assumption that you can. And so step 2 to picking a lock is we need to actually turn it. So, like, the way a lock works, at least a pin tumbler lock, is that there are pins in the lock. So the pins are on the bottom, and then there's a driver pin on top of that pin that's spring-loaded. And so they, like, go up and down. And if the pins are not in the right position, then the pin blocks the plug. It's called the plug. It blocks the plug from turning, and then you can't turn the key. So what the key does is that it raises those pins to the exact location so they're not blocking the plug anymore. You can turn it. And then when you pick the lock, that's what you're doing. You're lifting the pins.
I like how we switched now to just actual crime advice.
I mean, you can find it anywhere on the internet. It's just all over the place.
It is kind of distressing that you can just, like, learn a lot about locks.
I actually have a practice lock. I actually don't know where it is at the moment, but I have...
Is it one of those see-through ones?
No, it's not. It's just one of the ones you can set, like, it's a standalone lock. You can set manually and pick. But I do actually have one. It's had lock picks. It's fun.
Did you ever do it successfully?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's not that hard.
Oh, okay. It's not that hard. Okay, cool.
It makes you feel real secure.
Yeah. Even this idiot can do it.
Yeah, so how are we going to use our arm to actually raise these pins? So, in addition to being able to change the color of their skin, they're also able to change the texture. So, like, as an example, they can make their skin spiky to, like, match the spiky texture of algae. It helps them.
That's cool as fuck.
Yeah, they have, like, a really complex network of muscles in their arm that lets them do that. So we can use this to raise the pins. We can just make spikes in our skin. Now, it's going to be kind of tough to know exactly where the pins are and if they're in the right position. But because our arms are smart, I think they'll be able to figure it out on their own.
That's not my problem. I'm going to offload that onto my arm, buddy.
I mean, I don't need to be able to see my arm doing this. They'll just do it on their own.
Oh, you could teach, if your arms are smart enough, you could teach them Braille, and he could learn how to lockpick all by himself.
Sure.
If you teach an arm to read.
So that means that we can raise the pins and we can unlock the lock successfully. So we can get to the vending machine to get that Ferrari rental that we wanted. But why settle for a rental when we can... So, like, plenty of people just leave their windows cracked open. We can easily fit into there and unlock the door. And then we can use our lockpicking skills to start the car. And then we can just steal cars.
And yeah, and once you're inside the car and have it started and going, I mean, that's the end of car stealing. The car is stolen. You don't have to worry anymore.
Well, then you drive. What do you mean?
What do you mean? Do you just drive it? What do you mean? It's, I don't know. Maybe you get chased by the police. I just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to know that it's not your car. It doesn't look like you broke in.
Yeah, but someone might notice their car has got the threshold on getting away with car stealing is not getting inside the car and driving it off. Because you could smash a window and drive the car off, and it looks like your window's just open.
But you can get it discreetly without like drawing attention to yourself. And then you can do whatever you need to do.
The most subtle of all people, the man with octopus arms.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that dude with the octopus arms in the parking lot.
I mean, just because you have octopus arms, they're not going to immediately assume you're a criminal.
Yeah, they are.
Well, then they're going to arrest you for rock climbing, and they're going to arrest you for cooking.
Okay, to be fair, we're not actually stealing cars, though.
I'm just driving.
In the real world, even if the car is unlocked with the key in the ignition and you take it, you're gonna get caught by the police. That's how car stealing works.
Haven't you ever seen Gone in 60 Seconds? I assume not.
Is that the sequel to Gone with the Wind?
Yes. Actually, it's the abridged version.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Gone in 60 Seconds, the abridged version of Gone with the Wind.
They made some slight changes.
It's just like a collage of the wind blowing through a bunch of different forests, and then it ends.
Perfect.
Yeah, so that was my answer. Steal cars. Apparently you guys didn't like it.
I'm just saying that there's like stealing the car. There's things that happen after you are driving the car.
Well, you could
away,
say that
because
I'm doing
cars
crimes.
are registered with license plates for a reason. If someone's like, "Hey, my car got stolen," and they're like, "What's your license plate?" and you're like, "This," and they're like, "Okay, we got it on camera. Here it is. Here's your car back."
So literally any crime that I would have said that I would do, you probably could say the same thing. So I was doomed from the beginning.
Crime doesn't pay.
No, I'm just specifically car stealing. I'm just saying the bottleneck on car stealing is not getting in the car.
Fine, I'll stick to the car rental.
There we go. Perfect. All right, so you guys ready for a Would You Rather?
Mm-hmm.
I am.
Would you rather never wear black or white again?
Huh. Okay.
So the only thing that I can think of that would affect you at all is that black absorbs heat, and sometimes you get hot in black. Or other than just like color preference.
But also, like, if you can't wear black,
I guess there are more situations.
Are kind of tricky.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of places where the attire. It's actually a lot of places where the formal attire is black and white.
Right.
And then the question is, which one can you get away with easier?
I feel like you can get away with an all black suit more than an all white suit.
But you could also get away with a non-black suit with a white shirt.
Yeah, like a dark blue.
Oh yeah, you don't only have to wear black. You just can't wear white.
Should we make this a little more extreme? Anything with any black on it, or anything with any
white?
That's
how I was taking it, because it's the only way that.
Yeah. If that's the case and you can actually still wear other colors, I feel like white would be better to wear. Just because of dress shirts.
So the one thing is, though, there are, like, occasions where you have to wear black.
I guess funeral's the one big situation for that.
Yeah.
Are there any cases where you have to wear white?
Not for guys.
Yeah, not for guys. Ladies have that big day
I think you pick never wear white, and it's weird, but I don't think there's any place where it's actually like cutting you off entirely.
Does it make getting socks a bitch?
I don't think so.
I wear black socks.
I have very few white. Actually, I think I have like no white socks.
Really?
I'm
Yeah.
wearing no white right now, and I'm wearing a black shirt. So I go with black.
I'm actually wearing I'm wearing a black sweater, a black t-shirt, black jeans, and black socks. That said, my socks do have a white logo on them.
Ooh.
And
It's a no-no.
the zipper on my sweater has a little bit of white on it. My t-shirt's in good oh, my t-shirt has a white tag. I don't know if that counts. That doesn't count.
I don't think that counts. I think it has to be visible.
You could also remove the tag. Like that's not part
And then
of
wear
the-
it, yeah.
Yeah.
I really can't think of any situation where you have to wear white.
Yeah.
Unless it's like part of your uniform or something for your job.
Right, yeah. I mean, it would be like if you had to wear like a traditional tux, but that's about it.
Yeah, I guess it's really just the funeral where it's the big one, because you can definitely get away better with a non-white like undershirt as a guy. I'm saying as a non-white
Right.
undershirt as a
Yeah.
guy. And then I guess if you're on the lady side of things, giving up the wedding dress is a big one.
That is a big one.
Not everyone wears wedding dresses though. To be fair, like people don't always have white. Like that is their traditional one.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, you could do like a light blue.
And I think
or...
the like respecting the funeral is more important than celebrating your wedding.
You admittedly you can wear a like charcoal gray suit to a funeral.
Well, then what counts as black, I guess, because you could just wear like a really, really, really dark blue, and people won't be able to tell.
I think the cutoff is someone looks at it and says, that's black, you can't wear that.
I mean, I think I personally go with black. Or what was the question? You can't wear black or you can't wear white? Then I go with white.
Yeah, you can't wear black or you can't wear white.
I think I would also choose white.
Yeah, I think the real answer is white.
Okay, so we're agreeing you can't wear white.
Nobody wear white, especially after Labor Day. And with that bit of advice, I'm going to give you guys another bit of advice. And that bit of advice is how to get the best stuff out of our podcast, which is to subscribe to our Patreon. If you go to www.patreon.com/absurdhypotheticals, you can find our Patreon page where we have all sorts of cool bonuses for those of you who want to support the show with your hard-earned dollars, including a monthly behind-the-scenes episode where we go into how we make the show, we go into the things that we did on the show that we didn't talk shit about during the recording, but really we disliked about each other's answers.
We just said those in the episode this time.
We've gone through like some rejected questions. We've gone through.
We have some previews of those up. So if you want to listen to what we actually talk about, just look for them on our channel or wherever. I don't know where you're listening to this, but they're on iTunes. They're on YouTube. Just search, I guess, Absurd Hypotheticals preview, behind the scenes preview.
Yeah, and our first ever behind the scenes is available in full.
Yeah.
So you can go back and listen to that one. They're only getting better and better as they go on. So now we're on behind the scenes like 6, 7 at the time of this recording.
think it's
6, I think.
6. I think 6.
It's either 6 or 7. We definitely recorded 5.
They live in a bit of a time warp because they come out like less sporadically. But yeah, so there's a bunch of them out. They only get better and better, and as we run out of basic stuff to talk about, like what microphones we use, we just get into much weirder and weirder topics.
We go way off topic like we did last
so
time.
far off
last
topic.
month we did.
Yeah, I guess that's the main thing. So the main thing about the behind the scenes episodes is we take a step back. It's not so formal. It's a lot more of a hangout with me, Chris, and Ben.
Yeah.
And if you like listening to us, that's a way that you can listen to us even more. But if you can manage to wait a whole week, you can join us next week when we answer the following question. What if dragons were real?